In this video, we're going to cover the main components that make up CardControl. So there are 6 main components. We have the data cleaner, the data migrator, the customer search, processor setup, and then we have application settings and security editor. So basically, we're just going to cover each of those, kind of give an overview of what they are and what they do. So let's start with the security editor. Right now we're logged into an administrative account, so we have access to all of the different components that are in CardControl. And the way privileges and security are managed is with the security editor. So here is the account I am logged in with, the SalesPad user, and it has the group admin. And then for that group admin, we can define the security privileges that that group has. So for instance, I have access to the data cleaner, I have access to the data migrator. Now here is another user. Now for that user, they have a default security group. So here I have defined that essentially they have access to nothing. They're low level in terms of security, so we turn all those things off for them so that they can't access the features we don't want them to. Now we also have settings, and these are not security related. So for instance, here we can default in which payment processor is selected when they go to the transaction entry screen, or we can say globally whether or not we want to save manually entered customer credit cards. Now we also have a processor setup module, and here is where you can actually set up the different payment processors that are going to be utilized when you're on the transaction entry screen. So here's where you configure, enter URLs for the live and the test server for the gateway. Here we are saying that this is in test mode, and then we enter the username, the password, and the other settings for this particular payment processor. So we also have a data migrator, and the data migrator essentially takes the sensitive information and the logs and the transaction information that are in one database and migrates it into your CardControl application. So if we set this to the, so for instance here in the connection string, if we connect it to a database, we could then migrate, and it would take all of the customer credit cards, it would take all of the transactions, it would take all of the logs, and it would move them from that database to your CardControl database, and it would remove them from the other database. So for instance, if our customer is using GP, then it's going to take all that information that's in GP and it's going to move it into CardControl, where it'll then encrypt it with the secure and dynamic encryption system used within CardControl. So it's going to better secure your information. So then we also have a data cleaner, and the data cleaner is where you go to actually purge the information that has been adding up in CardControl as you use it. So for instance, if you wanted to remove all of the expired credit cards, or if you wanted to remove the transaction log, you could say any log entry older than this date, we want to delete the entire log. And you could do the same for actual transactions that are still alive in the database. And the last component is customer search. And as you process transactions or migrate content, customers are going to be created in CC that represent those customers that you're processing transactions for. So let's say you're migrating data and you have a customer credit card, it's going to go ahead and create a customer in your CardControl system for the customer whose information you're migrating. And it's also going to do the same for when you're processing transactions that are being sent to CC from Dynamics GP. So here you can see that I have a few that I've processed information for. So we can go ahead and click on one, and it's going to give me the customer credit cards for this customer. this is something you could turn off, so you can select for it to not save customer credit cards. As long as you have that turned on, whenever you process a transaction and you manually enter a credit card number, as long as the transaction is successful, it's going to save that customer credit card to that customer. And then here we also have the transaction log. So for instance, here you can see that we have a transaction that was processed against this document. It was an authorization. It was successful. And then we also have access to the actual message that was sent back from the payment processor. There's a global setting for saving customer credit cards. So let's say you have this set to true, then by default, every credit card that you process for every customer, as long as the transaction is successful, it's going to save that customer credit card. But if we go back to the customer card, you can also turn it off on a customer by customer basis. So if you have a specific customer that requests that you do not save their customer credit cards, you can go ahead and do that here by clicking the Don't Save Credit Card checkbox and then click Save. So that's kind of an overview of the different modules within CardControl.